Start your business for the freedom of time. Now you're tired of the hustle and grind. There's gotta be a better way. It's time to listen to Chill and Prosper. Welcome to Chill and Prosper. You're ready to chill and prosper with Denise Duffield-Thomas.
Hey friends, it's Denise here and welcome to another episode of Chill and Prosper. And I've got a couple of random questions to start off. Now, you can always send me a question. You can DM me, you can email my team is probably the easiest one, put question for podcast, and I can answer it in an upcoming episode. Okay, so my first question, it comes from Anjay, I hope I'm pronouncing that right. Anjay, hi. I'm pretty sure you're in my boot camp. So this is a question around mindset, and I thought this was a really interesting one to start with because it starts off, imagine this situation, okay? You work on your mindset, visualize your success, take massive actions again and again, and it still does not work in your favor. Then you hear this voice inside your head telling you, see, it doesn't help when you talk and visualize your situation better than it is. What would you tell someone who doubts that this money mindset work is truly working and leads to a success? I totally get where you're coming from on this, because there's been lots of situations in my life too where I felt like, but I am doing all the right stuff. Like, why isn't it working for me? And I think there are a couple of layers to approach this. Okay, so number one, you always need to make sure that you are surrounded by other people who are kind of in this conversation around prosperity and success and stuff like that, because it's incredibly difficult, I think, to change your mindset if everyone around you is skeptical about it or is speaking negatively about money. And you've got to think yourself being in a fishbowl, okay? And you think that is the world. You think that's the world. And so you're swimming in a sea of negativity sometimes, right? And it could be in really subtle ways of someone always saying, well, we can't afford that. We can't afford that. Or why would you think that? And so you don't see anything different. That is your normal, right? And that's what I think it was like for me when I was surrounded by people who worked in a 9-to-5. Everyone talked about being in a 9-to-5. That was the norm, right? And it wasn't until I deliberately put myself into groups of entrepreneurs that I could believe that it was possible for myself, because I could see, oh, that's what they're doing. Like, it just became the new ocean of possibility that I live in. Another, like, on this bowl analogy, right? Every time I get together with entrepreneurs, someone will say, oh, are you following that person? She's got this many followers and she's doing all this stuff and she's doing it. And I think, I've never heard of them. And they'll go, really? But like, they're so successful. I see their stuff all the time. And I go, never heard of them. And it always blows my mind, because I think there's so much abundance out there. There's so many customers, there's so many clients, there's so many places for us. But yet when you just see your own little environment, you think that's it. And there's been times where I thought, oh, that's the industry. That's all that's available to me, until I take myself out of my environment and I go, wow, there's so much, right? Now, when I was first kind of starting in my business, I remember joining this community, and my friend, who's now my friend now, Leonie Dawson, was in there, and she had a launch and she made $30,000. And I remember just going, oh my God, like, it blew my mind. I just went, and I was going, Mark, come and have a look at this. She did a launch and she made $30,000. And he was like, okay. And because I was in a community with her, and I was like, well, I know her, like, we've spoken, we've met at events, like, she's just a normal person, maybe I could do that as well. And so there's something there about not only surrounding yourself with people who have positivity and who are speaking the same language and are supportive, but it's putting yourself in situations where people are doing what you consider to be impossible. And sometimes we outgrow the communities that we're in, and we just think, oh, well, that's it now. Like that's all that's possible. I can only earn this amount, or I could only have this amount of clients, especially if you're in an industry kind of group where people are like, nope, this is how it's done. You can only have this amount of clients. This is all you can charge. And putting yourself into different situations, it does change your brain, right? And you start to go, well, if they can do it, maybe I can do it. If they can do it in their industry, maybe I can bring it into mine and I can do things in a different way. And so that is really my advice to you is it's totally fine to feel skeptical. Also, sometimes things don't manifest as quickly as you want. That is absolutely true. But you do need to put yourself in a place of possibility, because I've seen sometimes the craziest miracles manifest because I've put myself in the right situation to receive it and to believe it. And conversely, when there's been times where I haven't felt like I've been in that flow, it's because I don't believe it. I haven't been around any examples to do it. Now, let's just talk about when it doesn't work. There are some goals that have taken years. Like, say there's one particular goal I had like for 7 years, and it was to manifest my house. And that doesn't mean that it doesn't work. It's just that some things take a long time to put all the pieces together. I've also had things that have manifested almost instantly. And we sometimes make that mean things about ourselves of, I'm not doing it properly, I'm not doing it right. So this is where I think it's really important to follow the principles that I talk about in Money Bootcamp, where it's upgrading your life incrementally. So then even if a particular goal isn't manifesting as fast as you like, you still feel good about yourself. And there's so many layers to that. One of those layers is the internal work of, I love and approve of myself. So that could be doing EFT. I deeply and completely love and accept myself. So then it's like the universe isn't withholding anything from me. I'm in this journey and I'm on it, and I like and approve of myself. And some things I can put my intention in and manifest quicker, but I also like myself. And that can be tricky if you're in a place of, disharmony, you don't like how you're living. And so one of the things we do in Money Bootcamp, as you know, is we look at everything and we incrementally upgrade things in our life. So we're raising our minimum standards. We're feeling good, even if there's a lag between now and our absolute dream life. We're feeling good. It's like a fine line of trying to feel content and happy and not in a wanting from a desperation thing. And also knowing that you can achieve more and knowing that you want to achieve more, but not from a place of lack. It's a really tricky balance. And I think the best way to achieve that is to create a first-class life with as much as you can with what you have right now. And that could be upgrading little things around you, using your best tea, wearing your best underwear, spraying perfume, all the things that are within your control. So then you have more bandwidth and belief to take action to get the next goals. Okay, I hope that makes sense. And sometimes we're missing a piece. And I always say to people, go back to my manifesting formula. So I've got a free workshop on this, denisedt.com/manifesting, and see what piece you might be missing, because some people are missing, they need to do more decluttering and mindset work. Some people haven't really truly defined their goal, so vague things come back. Some people are trying to achieve their goal amidst a sea of negativity, right? So that's when we create those positive anchors. Some people aren't taking the right action, like the real inspired action. And also the step number 5 is, can I receive it? How am I receiving this? And so sometimes you are missing a step, and sometimes it's patience, and sometimes you really have to work on, how do I feel good now in the lag? And maybe, like for me, it was like, I really want to live in this abundant house. I can't buy it yet. Can I rent somewhere close to that? And that was a really good step that actually made the goal happen quicker, because I was like, I'm deserving of being here. This is my new normal. Does that make sense? Okay, great question though, because I know it can feel very frustrating sometimes, especially if other people are telling you it's not really working. So it's like, it is my time and I'm ready for the next step. It's a good one. Okay, cool. So this question comes from Cello, and it's, how do you remember to track your money every day? I start with a money goal, but I've never remembered to track a full week or even 2 days in a row. Okay, so this is one of our lessons from Money Bootcamp about tracking your money. And I have to admit, I have slacked off on this as well. And I know that when I do like stop the flow of money a little bit. But you don't have to be perfect with it, okay? So the intention behind this is the important thing. The intention is that we acknowledge and we receive, okay? So it's not about replacing accounting. It's not about not doing your accounting. It's nothing to do with that. It is literally about acknowledgement, okay? So for example, you might find 5 cents in the street, a penny in the street. You don't always have to pick it up, because there was one the other day, it was sitting there. I was just like, I'm just going to leave that for someone else. Thank you, universe, for the message. But it was like, I see you. I acknowledge you. Okay. It's also about if a friend says, oh, I'll buy the tea this week. You bought it last week. To also acknowledge that and to say, thank you. I received that. And it's not even necessarily about money. So I did this at ballet the other day, when someone said, oh, I love this outfit that you're wearing. And I literally went, oh, it's on sale. I don't think the quality is really good. Like, blah, blah, blah. I started saying, and then I stopped myself and I went, oh my God, listen to me doing all these disclaimers. Thank you. I received that. And it was just really fascinating how we reject abundance, and so it isn't about being perfect with writing down the figures, but it's about seeing and noticing and receiving and saying, thank you, I see you, thank you, I notice this. The other reason why we do tracking is to notice and be aware of if there's any lags. When sometimes you're slack with it and then you go, oh, I haven't had any sales, for a couple of days. Putting the intention back on it, then you start to go, oh, maybe there's a broken link. Oh, maybe I could send out an extra email. And so it's the awareness of just keeping track of things as well is the intention of that. So whatever way that works for you, is totally fine. So when I've been in a place where I've gone, I really, really want to be on top of it and I want to manifest more money, I've had a piece of paper method where I've just written down the bits. I've used Excel spreadsheets. I've used my money tracking app. I'm always a bit reluctant to tell people about it because it's so old and buggy now that I'm like, at any point they could just take it off. So I'm always a bit like, use it at your peril, to be honest. And so it could be too that you do like my friend Tash Corbin. She does it visually. So I think she's even got a colouring book around this, if you look for it, Tash Corbin, Tash. And she will have 100 bees, and you can be like, each bee represents $100. And so when you manifest $100, you doing the bee. So it might not even be that you do it for a week, a month, a day. You might do it for an overall goal and to go, okay, I'm going to manifest money for this particular thing. And that might be more motivating for you to do it visually. So can you hear my voice? There's no perfectionism required on this. It's always about intention and what works for you in your brain to motivate yourself to do different things. Okay? All right, let's take a quick break and I'll be right back with some more money mindset questions.
It's your time and you're ready for the next step. It's your time and you're ready for the next step. It's your time and you're totally ready for the next step. So many times we are waiting for the perfect moment, for all of the green lights or for someone else to tap us on the shoulder and say, you're ready. But it has to come from inside you, and you can declare yourself ready now. Put your hand on your heart and try it with me. It's my time and I'm ready for the next step. If you know deep in your heart, even if you're scared, that you're ready to let go of some of your money fears and finally profit from your skills and talents, it's time to get to work. Your next step is to come and join us in Money Bootcamp. you can work with me as your money mindset mentor and join our beautiful community so you can really give yourself permission to make money and change the world. Click below to find out more, but don't wait any longer. Come and join us today. We're ready for you, and it's your time, and you're ready for the next step.
Hi, welcome back. And we are talking about some just sticky money questions that have come in recently. So these next couple, I don't have a name for them because sometimes people want to be anonymous. So if this is you, good. So do you have to be a coach to be wealthy? That's such a juicy question. No wonder it came in anonymously. Now, I see this sometimes as a criticism, I think, of the coaching world, where people go, oh, the coaching world is just coaches, coaching, coaches, how to be coaches. And if you are in that space, sure, you can think that's the industry. Just what I talked about, the fish bowls, right? That's the industry, that's the world. And actually, you just need to expand sometimes the communities that you are in, because I've seen a lot of diverse entrepreneurs be successful. I've seen people be successful teaching art, teaching craft, helping people, with their parenting skills, with making particular things. There are so many different ways to make money. But if you always think that it's only in one way, that's what you're going to see again and again. So do you have to be a coach to be wealthy? No. I think the reason why so many people go into that place is because a lot of entrepreneurs, like me, this is my brain as well, I've always just wanted to help people, and I've always got strong opinions and stuff, and I just love telling people what to do. So I think I was just naturally drawn to that coaching world. And then I think if you've got that personality and people are drawn to you, that is generally what people then end up going into, right? The advice business, the personal development business. And some people are naturally kind of geared towards it and some people are not. And that's totally fine. But there's also a market for helping anyone overcome any problem. There really is, if you can get it in front of enough people. So no, you don't have to be a coach to be wealthy. And yeah, you don't. Yeah, there's not much else to say about that, really. Yeah, you don't. You can make money from anything. And try that too. It's it's safe for me to make money out of my business. And you can say your business out loud, and you can there'll be parts of you go, no one will buy that. Everyone knows how to do that. Or that's not useful. And it's there have been fortunes made in the most random products and services. Okay. I didn't read the article, but I saw this headline say, I made £200,000 last year, farting, doing videos of me farting or something. And I was like, cool. Okay, I did not read any further. But remember there was somebody, she was selling farts in a jar or something. You got to be creative sometimes. Think outside the box. Okay, next question. Again, another anonymous one. How do you forgive yourself for really big money mistakes? Like making a huge investment, like bad coaches, real estate, a course that wasn't worth it. Ooh, I have made so many money mistakes my whole life. This is my personality. My personality is I'm very optimistic that things will work out. I'm not so good at the details and looking at sums. I have dyscalculia, so I'm not great at calculating stuff. And there's been times where we've maybe put together a real estate deal or something, and I've gone, oh, that's X% return. Mark's no. And I go, oh, okay. And also I get very caught up in emotions and the moment, and I don't always take time to think things through and to sleep on things. I also have made bad decisions. I've been at conferences where people have sold masterminds and things like that, and I just kind of got swept up in the moment and bought things that I've absolutely regretted. So how do you forgive yourself for those things? So I think one way that's good for me is that with my ADHD, sometimes I just completely forget about them, like a little goldfish with a 3-second memory. I go, oh well, whoopsie. And you might think, oh yeah, you can say that now because you've got money, but this has literally been my personality my whole life, is making silly, impulsive decisions. I remember when I was a a student at university and I was a waitress, and I bought this like $300 antique tuxedo because I fell in love with it at the antique store. I just fell in love with it. I had to have it. I've lost money, like physically lost money. I used to lose my wallet all the time, my handbag all the time, just stupid things like that. And then as I've gotten older, some of those money mistakes have been bigger things, like buying real estate that didn't work, doing really expensive programs, investing in things in my business that haven't paid off. So one thing I think is really a good thing to do is how do you, let me think about this too, because when I hear other people make big mistakes too, I always think, oh, that's going to be a great chapter in your book. Oh, that's going to be a great story to tell on Oprah one day. And I'm kind of a bit like that too with mine. I'm just like, oh, I can see the lessons straight away. I don't really dwell in things for a long, long time, but I also think that's because I am a very self-aware person, but I also have mechanisms to be able to talk through these things. So I'll go top to bottom, but like this podcast is a great way to kind of talk through things and like get things out in my head sometimes, make connections, make, see the patterns in things, in my mistakes. So I'm like, this is great. I can just share it with you guys. Same in my money boot camp. So every month we talk about a particular topic and how it relates to our money mindset and how it's related to our childhoods and our experiences. And so often I can talk through things like that and then feel like, wow, this is being transmuted into lessons for other people. But also I do a lot of personal internal work myself. So every month I have a session with a coach. We do a lot of tapping. We do a lot of kinesiology to be able to talk through some of those things and to, help me transmute them, understand them, learn from them. Okay. And I think I'm also someone, I just really like to look at patterns and understand behaviors. So I try and do that too. What I see that can be really sad is when someone makes a mistake and it becomes their entire identity. It becomes so much a part of who they are. They never forgive themselves for it. And also, crucially, they never try again. And like when you can have compassion for yourself for things, like I'll give you an example. So a couple of years ago, I bought a rundown bank, an old bank. And so it was like an old property. I bought it with a friend and business partner, and it was, we probably paid like okay amount for it, but it was more our renovation budget went over, and it was just before we had something like 10 or 11 interest rate increases in a row in Australia. So first of all, the big mistake is that we fell in love with this property and the numbers were pretty slim, and we went into it still thinking with a really optimistic mindset of going, no, it'll all work out, we'll get a tenant, we'll get, Airbnb. And because of all the interest rate increases, we didn't get a tenant for a year for the front part of the bank. The renovation cost more. Like we've personally funded it, which was a mistake as well. And we didn't bow out when we should have. And then Airbnb was really slow because of the economy. And it just went on and on. It was such a bad decision in so many ways. And then we sold it and we made a massive loss on it. And so that could be like, oh, I'm never buying property ever again. Instead, I'm so grateful for that lesson. So grateful. I can see all the positives in it. And I've said to myself, like, I know I've lost money, but oh my God, the lessons that I've learned about boundaries, about working with friends, about contracts, about bowing out earlier when things get bad, about, like admitting defeat, about staying in my lane. But also I'm really proud of, even though it did cost me money, I'm still really proud that I went for it, and I know I've got friends who have done big things, like my friend Carly Nimmo. She created one of the first co-working spaces, and then it was just at the wrong time and economy, and she lost a ton of money from it. And it was just such a painful thing for her for such a long time. But also it's like, but that was so brave. Like it was such a brave thing to do. And we need dreamers. We need people who like swing for those big things. And look at like Richard Branson, how many businesses of his have gone bankrupt, and he's still so creative and still like as optimistic as ever. And like, if you're that kind of person, you will be tempted by other things, and some of them work out and some of them don't. So talk about it, normalize it, be around other people who've made those mistakes. And you know what? It's so interesting. I actually thought, like, recently I was really beating myself up about a mistake, a similar kind of mistake. And I met someone who's like super successful, way more successful than me. And she was talking about some of the mistakes she sees in her clients who are like, have businesses that are, $100 million. And I was like, oh, they're the same mistakes that like I've made. And because I've been, saying to my community for so long, it's totally okay to make mistakes. But I think I got to a point where I'm like, no, but I'm not allowed to make mistakes anymore. Now I have to be perfect. And to hear like, oh, the mistakes are still the same at like, the tens of millions, hundreds of millions level, it really humanized it for me. But you need to be in conversations like that to be able to go, oh, it's just part of the process, part of life. And you know what? I will be more cautious next time about going into business with a friend or buying a real estate deal with too thin margins, and just go, no, it's not worth it. So I think it's always a positive, okay? Be proud of yourself for trying something different. Okay. All right, one more question today is, what if you raise your prices and then no one buys? Okay. I think this is so juicy. So there is a process that you can follow to mitigate this risk, because sometimes it does happen, especially if you've got a very small kind of community or network, or you're not doing a lot of marketing. It can happen that you can price yourself temporarily out of the market, especially if you've got huge mindset fears around it. Okay. So I've got a bit of a process with scripts for you. If you go to denisedt.com/increase, okay, and it will give you the process to do it. And one time we did increase the prices, and I like let Mark handle it, and he didn't follow the process. I was so mad. I was like, did you know that we have a resource around this? Can you like follow it next time, please? And because people did buy, but it wasn't as impactful as it could have been because he didn't follow my process. When is he going to learn? Okay, so there's a couple of signs about when you should increase prices. And there's a couple of things like you've got a wait list, or you're attracting non-ideal clients, or people straight up tell you you're too cheap, or there's just a couple of little signs. If you're feeling resentful is one as well. Now, sometimes you just go, I want to increase my prices. It's just not worth it for me. And sometimes your clients are in alignment with that, and sometimes they are not. Okay. So sometimes it takes a little bit of work behind the scenes before you do it. Okay. And I saw this handmade tutu lady recently, and she was like, just to let you know, I haven't increased my prices for 5 years. Tulle is more expensive, this is more expensive, I'm undercharging. I sometimes see people sell all my tutus for more than I charge them. It's just not working out for me. So this is forward notice, okay? And everyone who's already bought gets it at that price. I think that is a really great strategy, but I hope she doesn't just do it as a one-off, because the way that that I do it is you pick a date sometime in the future, and it can be 30 days, 60 days, whatever, and you let people know. Okay, just to let you know, from this date onwards, my prices are going up. However, and this is the thing to mitigate that fear of no one buying, you let people buy at the current price. Okay, so you let people buy a package at the current price. You let all of your current clients know to renew at the current price. They get one more renewal, or maybe you let them do it forever, whatever. But you have boundaries around it, okay? So it's like, if you buy a 6-session thing, if you pre-buy your tutu for the next year, you can lock in the current price. You take a deposit, you make sure that your contract is very clear about when they have to use it or what the parameters are around it. And you give lots of notice, but you don't just do it once. And this is what really annoyed me with Mark. I'm sorry, because I know he reads the transcripts and he'll be like, you have to put it everywhere. Okay, so it has to be on your website. It has to be on every single one of your emails that's sent out. By the way, just a reminder, on your social media, it has to be on all your social media platforms. Make it the pinned post on your Instagram or your Twitter or whatever it is, because you will be surprised how many people will not see it. And you think, oh, I've made the like scary decision to increase my prices. You do it once, you hide, no one sees it. So the point of doing all of that isn't to inform them that the price is going up. The point is to lock in people at the current price. And yes, I know you're not always happy about the current price, but you do that because it gives you a cushion to deal with the next phase. Okay, so you've locked in your clients, you've locked in some income, then you're not desperate about it. Because what happens is when you do it and you haven't really communicated it and you're actually feeling stressed about it and you're not quite confident in it, your desperation and your yuckiness around it, it's like, it's awkward. It's awkward. And sometimes you haven't communicated it well. You know, people get annoyed by it. There's a lot of different little subtle things that go behind the scenes, but most of the time it's our fear that no one will buy. Becomes this self-fulfilling prophecy, right? So it gives you a bit of a space, and then you won't backtrack and you won't go, oh no, sorry, I've changed my mind. And then it also, you do sometimes have to upgrade your marketing. You have to think about who that next client is that you're trying to attract. And there's a lot of little subtle things that can go into it as well. So as I said, I've got the resource for you and it can help you plan it out. DeniseDT.com/increase. Okay, but it's totally fine. You don't have to justify it. You don't have to feel embarrassed about it. You're allowed to increase your prices whenever you like. And I used to do it every couple of clients because I was so undercharging. I was like, oh, no, I can do it again. And every time I did this process to let people know, and I always got more clients because people will go, oh, I've been sitting on the fence for ages. Oh, I've just been waiting for, a discount or whatever. Go, no, it's actually only going up. So lock it in now. And then it gives you that buffer. Okay, hope that helps. Okay, so thank you for these questions today. It's really interesting how they're all questions, all things that I've wrestled with and sometimes continue to wrestle with. And I really think it's a perfectionism thing. We're so hard on ourselves. Okay, so I've got one final thought for you after this break. You joined Money Bootcamp
in 2019.
Okay, cool.
Yes.
Yeah.
The thing that I think the most important element of bootcamp for me, biggest learning, was about permission. A permission to go, it's okay for me to talk about money, to make money, to have a safe space to talk about money, but also understand that the things that blocked me around money that I didn't even know existed, that I could deal with and then be able to go, okay, reframe it in a way that was really positive for me to be able to, create something completely different for myself.
Especially as an artist, right?
Definitely.
Artist mentality.
Absolutely. So that permission, that whole permission thing was, okay, if it's okay for me to make money out of art, what does that look like? And the whole journey around that.
Okay, so this has been one of my favorite affirmations for many, many years. And you've probably heard me say it a million times, but it still works. And it's, I serve, I deserve. I serve, I deserve. So if you haven't heard it for a while, or if this is new to you, I want you to write it down and see what it brings up for you, because we're just so hard on ourselves. We really think we have to be perfect. And I know that everyone listening to this, you've just got a kind heart. You just want to help people. You want to make the world a better place. You want to be helpful, and you want to get paid in return. And there's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with asking to be paid in return for what you put out in the world. And so occasionally you'll get someone who's really rude and says, oh, I can't believe you're charging this, or how dare you, or if you really cared about this, it would be free. And you can't argue with those people, because how rude would you have to be to email someone that? I honestly just think that sometimes I go, how rude. Can you imagine how rude? So in those moments where people shame you for wanting more, believing in something different, I just go, I serve, I deserve. I serve, I deserve. And it makes my shoulders drop. It makes me go, oh my God, it's okay. I serve, I deserve. I deserve to be treated with respect. I deserve to have boundaries. I deserve to receive in return for the good that I'm putting out in the world. And that's all it is. It has to be both. I can't just keep on putting out, just as like, you have to inhale and exhale. You have to give and receive. It's a circle of life. It's the circle of life. Okay, so I serve, I deserve. Write it down. Make it a part of your life. Because it will change. It will change your life. It's changed mine. I serve, I deserve. I'm human. I'm allowed to make mistakes. I'm allowed to receive. Great questions today. And remember, if you've got questions, send them over, because I always love hearing your questions and hearing what people are struggling with, because it's always the same stuff. There's nothing, I've never heard a question that shocked me. I've just gone, yep, everyone's dealing with that. You're very normal, okay? So I will see you next week on another episode of Chill and Prosper. Take care. Bye.
Start your business for the freedom of time. Now you're tired of the hustle and grind. There's gotta be a better way. It's time to listen to Chill and Prosper. Welcome to Chill and Prosper. You're ready to chill and prosper with Denise Duffield-Thomas.